Welcome to HornAfrica Insight, your source for East Africa news and analysis. Today, we bring you 5 major stories. Ethiopia wins COP32. Egypt builds in Djibouti. Afar caught in Red Sea crossfire. Museveni demands ocean access. TPLF arms claims reignite tensions. Facts now, Horn Africa. Insight. #Horn. Ethiopia will host the United Nations COP32 climate summit in 2027, officially announced during COP30 in Belém, Brazil. Addis Ababa won the African bid over Nigeria after all 54 nations endorsed Ethiopia's candidacy. Ambassador Leolseged Tadesse Abebe addressed the plenary saying, "We are deeply grateful for the trust placed in Ethiopia." COP32 will help guide climate action in this critical decade. As host, Ethiopia will help set the global agenda, showcase Africa's green initiatives, and shape negotiations. Hosting rights rotate by region, requiring full regional consensus. COP31, set for 2026, remains undecided, with Australia and Turkey still vying. If they fail to agree, the backup venue is Bonn, Germany, the headquarters of the UNFCCC. Ethiopia's selection reflects growing recognition of its environmental leadership. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed launched the bid at the 2024 Africa Climate Summit, citing the Green Legacy Initiative, which has planted over 32 billion trees, and vast investments in hydropower and renewable energy. Addis Ababa also promotes climate-resilient farming and watershed restoration. Africa seeks climate justice, calling for more financing for adaptation and loss and damage funds. Ethiopia's hosting of COP32 places Africa at the heart of global climate diplomacy. Can Addis Ababa turn its green vision into global policy? Egypt has signed a major infrastructure agreement with Djibouti, expanding its presence along the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. Deputy Prime Minister Kamel El-Wazir will visit later this month to oversee new port and logistics projects. The Memorandum of Understanding, signed on November 8th, includes modernization of Djibouti's ports, construction of a 20-megawatt solar park to power the SGTD terminal, and development of a 10-hectare logistics zone to boost Egyptian exports under a cost insurance freight scheme. A new container terminal featuring a 1,450-meter quay and 18-meter depth will handle up to 5 million TEUs annually, a massive capacity expansion for the region. Djibouti's Port Authority says the partnership will make the country the green gateway to the Horn. Egypt, for its part, extends its maritime footprint, linking Suez Canal operations to East Africa's trade corridors. Analysts see the deal as part of Cairo's broader counter-strategy to Ethiopia's push for sea access and naval re-emergence. For Djibouti, the investment means jobs and infrastructure. For Egypt, strategic leverage. But for Ethiopia, heavily dependent on Djibouti for 90% of its trade, this may tighten maritime pressure. Can Egypt's Red Sea diplomacy redraw the region's trade map? Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni has warned that Africa's landlocked nations could one day fight for access to the ocean. In a fiery speech on November 9th, he criticized what he called madness in regional arrangements that keep inland states dependent on neighbors for port access. Using a striking metaphor, Museveni said, "Africa is like a condominium. We may live on different floors, but we all share the compound, and that compound is the Indian Ocean." Uganda depends on Kenya's Mombasa port for nearly all imports and exports. Delays in the standard gauge railway and oil pipeline projects have worsened costs. Museveni argues that dependency limits sovereignty, warning that no country can remain landlocked forever. His statement echoes Ethiopia's recent calls for direct sea access, suggesting a broader regional movement among inland states. Under international law, coastal states control territorial waters, while landlocked countries rely on transit treaties. Museveni wants those frameworks renegotiated to guarantee strategic maritime participation. Kenya has yet to respond officially, but the remarks have stirred debate across East Africa. Is the region heading toward cooperative integration or maritime confrontation? New allegations have emerged that remnants of the Tigray People's Liberation Front are transferring weapons into Eritrea, violating the 2022 Pretoria Agreement. Prosperity Party officials claim the TPLF concealed heavy arms, including rocket systems and drones, now being redeployed across the northern frontier. Former Ethiopian ambassador Muaz Gebre alleged that multiple launch rocket systems were hidden near Shiraro and Badme, later moved across the border. Both sides accuse each other of violating disarmament terms. The Ethiopian government says drones struck TPLF-linked positions near the Afar border last week, while TPLF officials accuse Addis Ababa of coordinated aggression. Regional observers warn that the situation risks reigniting a proxy conflict. Eritrea, backed by Egypt, remains deeply involved. The TPLF seeks to exploit Afar instability to regain leverage. The Pretoria deal, once a symbol of fragile peace, is now under severe strain. Can Ethiopia prevent a relapse into full-scale war, or is the Horn once again sliding toward a wider confrontation? The Afar people, spread across Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Djibouti, now find themselves at the center of a regional struggle for the Red Sea. Once rulers of sultanates along the coast, they were split by colonial borders. Today, they are entangled in overlapping rivalries. Ethiopia has increasingly invoked Afar identity in its campaign for sea access. Addis Ababa supports groups like the Red Sea Afar Democratic Organization, RSADO, and Brigade Namadu, with bases in the Afar region. These militias are trained and equipped to influence coastal access discussions. The government recently restructured regional politics, merging the Afar National Democratic Party into the Prosperity Party. Defense Minister Aisha Mohammed, an Afar native, visited Bure near Eritrea last week as Ethiopia reaffirmed its maritime ambitions. Eritrea sees danger in Ethiopia's moves. Asmara has mobilized troops and allegedly rearmed elements of the TPLF and Fano militias. Djibouti, dominated by the Issa community, also watches nervously. The Farad insurgency remains active, its 2022 attack on an army barracks still fresh in memory. Tensions among Afar factions are rising. Some cooperate with Eritrea, others back Ethiopia. Many fear being used as instruments in a larger regional contest. As the Red Sea power race accelerates, the Afar find themselves both bridge and battleground. Can they avoid becoming collateral in the Horn's new maritime rivalry? From global climate leadership to border brinkmanship, the Horn of Africa remains on edge. Stay informed, like, share, and follow HornAfrica Insight on X for continuous updates. #HornAfrica Insight.